Anyway. Hello. I wonder if I'll actually finish this today. Well, this case. Been an odd one so far. And that's pretty much how things went down. Those are the facts of the IS-7 as far as I'm concerned. I'm finally learning the truth about my father's last case. So, what happened at the trial? Well, we lost. Karma did a real number on us. Really? You couldn't prove that Mr. Tangarao was innocent? Oh, we could prove it alright. Had a decent little pile of evidence in our favor. Problem was, we underestimated Karma. He fought even dirtier than we feared. I can imagine. Secure conviction at all costs. That was always his guiding principle. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Anywho, the trial dragged on and on. Whole thing took about a year in the end. I'll never forget the day the verdict came down. December 28th that following year. It's April now, so, oh mama, we talked over 17 years ago. Time sure does fly, huh? December 28th. I was there that day 17 years ago, sitting in the courtroom gallery. Just before the trial got started, Gregory noticed that Samson was looking even worse than usual. Turns out the poor guy had finally reached his limit. It was so bad, he even said he wanted to be found guilty. Wait, you mean they forced a confession out of him? Yeah, Karma got what he'd been pushing for from the very beginning. When Gregory tried to drop the bombshell about there being nobody to speak of, he learned that Karma had used the power of the police to head him off at the pass. He even had himself a fake autopsy report, but that wasn't the end of it. Karma had gotten Samson to falsely testify against himself to being an accessory to murder in court. Combined with his confession, the poor guy's goose was well and truly cooked. But Gregory still had his ace in the hole though. And the same ace he asked Detective Bad to help him with. Exactamundo. He knew he needed one last card to play if they squeezed a confession out of Samson. We had Bad record all of Samson's interrogations. Guess Detective Bad really wanted to know the truth too, huh? We all did, but he was a trooper. Stayed with the case even after Karma took him off of it. He was tied up in some other big cases too. Good old Bad. They don't make him like that anymore. Anyway, Gregory presented the recordings as proof that Samson's confession was coerced. And you know what? It almost worked. A cop named Ian Simon got fired. Samson's interrogator and the initial detective, before Bad, he took the fall for pretty much the whole thing. But Karma didn't get away scot-free. In fact, he was disciplined by the chief prosecutor. For the one and only time in his 40-year career. Still, Samson found himself couldn't stomach another day in court. And when that guilty verdict came down, it didn't just signal the end of that day, but of the whole sad affair. I don't remember a lot myself, but my father's face when they declared Mr. Tangaroa guilty. I was a young child at the time, but even I can tell how much he was hurting inside. Gregory wanted to appeal the ruling, of course. He would have done anything to clear Samson's name. But then, well, you know what happened next. Poor guy, he never got the chance. should have left with him that day. Always blame myself for not doing that. But I shoved that aside and obsessed over someone else instead. Or rather, someone else. I hated what you did. Hated you for choosing to stick with Von Karma. I hope you can forgive me. No, you had every right to hate me. I went on to become a prosecutor as planned, and that's when Mr. Von Karma showed me his case file. According to these records, Mr. Tangaroa was convicted as the main culprit in Mr. Frost's murder. Nope, that's not right. Sampson was convicted as an accessory to murder. Strange, the file clearly states that he was the perpetrator. Thus, I'm fairly certain that all of Mr. Von Karma's cases were successfully solved. Mind if I take a peek at those? This file's been doctored. The part about the verdict, it's been changed. What? Here, feast your peepers on this. Suspect data, Sampson Tangaroa, age 39. Organizer of confectionery contest, victim's body was found inside one of his creations leading to his arrest. While in detention, Tangaroa discovered that he had a taste disorder which was subsequently cured via medication. Verdict, convicted as an accomplice based on his confession. Convicted as an accomplice? That's a copy of the file they have on record at the courthouse. Then why is my copy so different? Well, you said it came from Von Karma, yeah? My guess is he didn't want Gregory's son thinking there was a murderer out there still at large. He didn't want you looking into it again before the statute of limitations was up. So, everything I believed about the case was a lie. Like they say, we all gotta start somewhere. What's important is you know what's what now. The statute of limitations may have run out, but the truth's still out there, you know? I inherited Sampson's case when your old man passed. Prosecution handed it off to somebody else, too. Great Von Karma wasn't gonna bother facing off against a rookie like me, was he? Anyway, long story short, the killer was never found, and Sampson was found guilty instead. That's terrible. There really nothing we can do to help him? Not without the real perv, I'm afraid. Until then, his confession stands. Speaking of which, I didn't find out until after the verdict had been handed down, but Von Karma had threatened Sampson and made him a deal. Told him if he didn't confess, he'd make sure Judy was convicted instead. How could he? Sampson knew there was no way Judy could have done it, of course, and he wasn't going to take any chances, so he did what he was told and confessed to keep her safe. Now riddle me this, Milesy boy. Why do you think your Uncle Eddie just happened to be in the prison the day Bronco Knight died?
That's right.
You were there to see Mr. Tangaroa. Nah, that should help. Bingo! Judy and I promised we'd visit him every day. I didn't quite keep that promise. But Judy did. She never missed one visit in all these years. Come rain or shine, she always showed up. But none of that changes the fact that Sampson is still being unduly punished day after day.
How heartbreaking. You've got to do something, Mr. Fender.
Well, kiddo, that's actually why we came here. The ice sculptures are back on display just like they were all those years ago. We're going to see what we can find out. Right, Nazareno? I'm a prosecutor, Fender. I don't look at these things in the same way as you or my father. Miles. But that doesn't matter right now. Speaking not as a prosecutor but as Miles Edgeworth. I want to know the truth behind both of these cases, and I'm not leaving until I do. You really are old Gregory's son through and through. Alrighty then. Now that's sorted, we can really get to work. Good thing I brought the IS-7 case file and evidence with me today, huh? Yeah. Documents first. Who doesn't love paperwork, am I right? The parts in red ink are my annotations. Thank you, Fender. Here's some evidence for you. Enjoy. There's quite a few, so I'll take a minute to scope them out if I were you. Yes, I see. I'll take a look at them in a bit.
You know, our current case is just full of loose threads too, come to think of it.
Indeed. The key players of the incident 18 years ago who just happened to get caught up in another incident. The ice sculptures in the winter wing that are perfect replicas of the one from 18 years ago. The poison gas attack in the autumn wing, which has been disguised to look like the winter wing. The two chemicals that were found inside the Pisces statue display case, ubiquium as asphyxian and asphyxian, that form a poisonous gas when mixed together. The victim of the gas attack, Caramello Gusto, who is no stranger to the events of 18 years ago, and who is still unconscious and undergoing treatment in the medical room. And finally we come to the body floating face down in the fountain, who has a hairstyle awfully a lot like... We'll see soon enough. Hairstyle like Frost's, that's what I was going to say. And the fact that the ice sculptures have melted, just as they did all those years ago. The events of the present day would appear to be intimately linked with the events of the past. Which means they may be able to help us learn more about what happened 18 years ago.
Sounds good to me. Let's get investigating.
Objection!
Oh no you don't. Aren't you forgetting somebody? I could have sworn this is my investigation. Eustace is quite right. I do hope you aren't intending to obstruct him in his duties, Mr. Edgeworth. I would hate to have to add a guilty to my report to the committee.
What am I guilty of now? Of course not. I'm simply offering once again to do what I can to help with this investigation.
Your offer is duly noted and duly declined. Ugh, she isn't pulling any punches. The identity of the body from the fountain is currently being ascertained. It is only a matter of time until we have all the information we need.
Perhaps I can help you speed that process along. I think I have an idea of who our mystery victim might be.
What? Really? Then you have to tell me. It's the law.
Very well. Maybe it isn't just the ice sculptures that have resurfaced after 18 years. The body in the fountain may also be a visitor from the past. Yep, I mean, his hair was the same. Okay, it's Frost.
Take that!
I believe the body in the fountain is that of the man who was murdered here 18 years ago. Mr. Artie Frost.
What? You're saying that was poor Chillywinks?
Wait. Who the heck is Chillywinks? Or Artie? Or whoever it is you're talking about?
Artie Frost was a famous sculptor, Eustace. Although he was better known as Paul Harlequin. The sculptures on display here are all his works.
No way! Sounds like he did well for himself. Always good to encounter a fellow winner.
Mr. Frost was also the victim in the IS-7 incident.
Judge Gamble knows about the IS-7 incident.
Mr. Edgeworth, the IS-7 incident is an 18-year-old case. And according to police records, the victim's body was recovered and an autopsy duly carried out.
Sure, that's what the records say, but the records can't always be trusted.
What are you insinuating?
That while the records say stuff like, body totally recovered, the defense back then begged to differ. Not that it stopped the prosecution from shutting them down hard, of course.
Yeah, this is winner. What? Really? What is it, Eustace?
The body. We got an ID.
Some sculptor called Frost or something, so I guess Edgeworth called it. Goddess of Justice.
So my father's deductions were right all along. Well, Judge Gavel, I'd say this changes things, wouldn't you? Perhaps now you'll admit that I might be of use to this case, more than a certain junior prosecutor anyway.
No fair! You're trying to steal the win!
I'm doing no such thing. All I want to uncover is the truth. And if we're going to get to the bottom of what happened here, we'll need to work together.
You do not need to do anything, and you do not need to know the truth. This case is none of your concern.
Objection!
Whoa there, Judge G. I think you might be wrong about that.
Another of your interruptions, Mr. Fender.
Yep. See, I was on the defense team for IS-7, so this case is very much my concern. I was one of the pesky kids pushing the theory that the body had actually gone missing. The prosecutor at the time may have brushed us off, but you can't deny the testimony of your eyes. Or to put it a little more bluntly, the prosecution's case was rotten from the ground up. When there's been a miscarriage of justice caused by the prosecution, it's the committee's job to fix it, no?
Ugh.
And who better to help you unpick the mess than someone who was there at the time? Unless you have an ulterior motive. Judge Gamble seems to know the facts of the IS-7 incident in some detail, in which case I suspect she must be here on the committee's behalf.
Your connection to the case is noted, Mr. Fender, but I fail to see how it concerns Mr. Edgeworth.
He's the son of the original defense attorney, and the protege of the case lead's prosecutor. And if that's not enough for you, he was at the trial too. I think it's just possible he might have a little something to bring to the table, don't you?
Very well. You may both assist in the investigation, but only if you refrain from interfering with the work of others. The Winter Wing is off limits for now. This room, however, is all yours.
Alright, great to hear we're on the same wavelength, G. Why don't we bring it in to show we're all on the side of justice?
Do not test me, Mr. Fender. Your permission to investigate can be revoked at any time.
Duly noted, Your Honor. This is a turn up for the books, huh, Marcy? We get to do our thing after all. Thanks to your immeasurable help as always. No sweat. Besides, I was mostly doing it for me. Okay, I'll be investigating my own thing. So just holler if you find something interesting. I will. Well, okay, shall we?
Heck yeah, let the investigation commence.
We're still unclear on two key facts. How Mr. Frost's body came to be where we found it, and the source of the ubiquium.
You're right, we need some more intel.
Indeed, let's focus on the ubiquium first and foremost.
Used in stuff like dish soap and paint, right?
Correct. It's also bright red in colour and has a distinctive minty fragrance.
Okay, sounds like we know what we're looking for.
The body's been taken back to the lab, sir. Autopsy's on the way. And how's the rest of the fountain looking? Rather beautiful, actually, sir. The water's crystal clear and kinda soothing. Almost as if there wasn't a body floating in it not so long ago. Seems the police have already removed the body.
But why did the body of a victim from 18 years ago turn up in this fountain? Why wasn't it all rotten and stuff? Did it slowly shuffle its way here?
Need I remind you that zombies aren't real? It seems likely that the body was preserved somehow.
Really? Is that even possible? Hey, Mr. Forensics guy, anything to report?
Yes, ma'am. Traces of both ubiquium and asphyxium have been detected in the fountain.
I'm gonna say they were probably carried here by the stream from the autumn wing.
In addition to those two chemicals, there's also a large amount of sugar. Composition of the sugar is being analysed as we speak. And there's sugar in the fountain. Where would it even have come from?
It's a man with a moon-shaped head and a woman with a sun-shaped head. The man's got a real pain look in his eyes, though. Is this another Paul Harlequin piece?
Yes, from his younger years, when he was something of a dreamer. He depicted those closest to him by means of a motif taken from nature. The piece is titled My Parents.
Guess the mum shone brightest in that house.
Oh, that's the one.
Statues of a man and a woman in old-timey clothes. Did Paul Harlequin make these as well?
Yes, seems he created them later in his life, once he had begun to make a name for himself. His wife pushed him to sculpt the two of them as ancient gods, and he couldn't say no to his beloved. The title is The Beautiful Goddess Venus and Her Humble Servant.
Well, talking about putting your goddess on a literal pedestal.
Miss Bound's tea set is laid out neatly on the serving card.
The pamphlet says the gallery is famous for its tea.
Understandably so. The cups we were given was delicious. The cup we were given was delicious.
Looks like all of this stuff was designed by Mr. Frost.
Interesting. In that case, I think we'd better take a closer look. The tablecloth draped over the cart is pure white and completely spotless.
And it's just waiting for me to grab it by the edge and clear my mind and whoosh.
Okay, I can't stress enough how bad of an idea that would be.
Oh, come on, what's the worst that can happen? Even if it does go all sideways, we'll just wind up with a cool tea-coloured dye. Tea-coloured tie-dye.
There. Yes, well, I'd rather it remained white. plus I don't think Miss Pound would appreciate us meddling with it.
Really? There are so many other colours that would totally work. Pink, sky blue, tea leaves brown.
Good lord. So this dishware was made by Artie Frost.
Looks very fancy.
Oh, it is. I'm willing to bet that this set can fetch something in the thousands of dollars. So let's try not to touch any of it unless we absolutely have to.
Whoa, this stuff's really worth that much?
Stop it, Kay. I can see your eyes lighting up. Miss Pound must really be a fan of Mr. Frost, like Fender said, to still have this.
Hey, Edgy.
What is it?
You be careful with that teapot you hear?
Why is Larry so concerned all of a sudden?
Honoured guests. I can pour you a cup if you like.
Miss Pound.
Judy! Hi, I'm good thanks. No tea for me. You two knock yourselves out.
Thank you for the offer. Yes, why not? A quick break won't hurt.
2 cups. Coming right up. This smells great. Wow, it tastes even better than it smells. What type of tea is this, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's Ceylon, I believe. It's usually identifiable by its citrus aroma, but... Miss Pound, is this the same blend you served this morning?
Why, yes. Is it alright? There isn't anything wrong with it, is there?
Oh no, not at all. It's just that the cup you gave me earlier had a slightly different aroma.
Really? That's odd. You used the exact same blend both times. Can't see what could account for the difference. Hey, what's the big idea? Quit being mean about Judy's tea, will ya?
What's gotten under your skin, Larry?
Nothing. You're just rude, that's all. You don't even try to call me by the right name. It's Larice to him, dang it. You know what? I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Well, that was childish, even for him.
Well, what happened there?
Let's ask him about it later, shall we? Talking to Miss Pound is more of a priority right now. He may not have any evidence to prove that she's the culprit, but it does seem likely that the poison gas was her doing. A caddy containing Ceylon tea leaves. It's a well-crafted tin canister designed to prevent moisture and sunlight from damaging its contents. Not a bad thing to use considering the quality of the blend Miss Pound serves.
I'm not gonna even look inside, are you? No, fine. Okay, that is still there.
From the colour and the aroma, I'd say this is a puddle of spilt tea.
Look, there's a small chunk of ceramic in it. I guess someone must have broken it. Broken something.
I know that insignia. And a certain high-strung somebody just might know a little something too.
Those are tulips by the door, right, Mr. Ridgeworth?
Yes, it leads to the spring wing.
Spring, popular time to move house. Which makes it open season for great thieves.
Housebreaking is a little beneath the great thief, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yes, you're right.
Why is there a lift cart just sitting here out in the open?
Guess somebody must have been moving something heavy.
The top of the platform seems to be wet. You know, I got a funny feeling I've seen this thing somewhere before.
You mean like 18 years ago?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I last saw it in Frost's room. He must have used it to move the ice sculptures around. It's one of those fancy numbers where you can change not only the platform's height, but even its angle. And one of these you can move giant lumps of ice around no sweat.
Oh, just think of the possibilities. I could really use one of these.
Still doesn't explain what it's doing here though. Bit of a head scratcher, but we should give it a think, yeah? Indeed, after all, it just might have something to do with our case.
They put sunflowers by the door. Nice.
A fitting adornment for the entrance to the summer wing, I suppose.
Summer is also vacation time. And every great thief knows that means tourists with bulging wallets.
Pickpocketing, Kay? Isn't that a little beneath a great thief?
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Mr. Winner was very clear that you're only allowed to investigate in this room. I'm afraid I can't let you pass. Sorry, sir. It wouldn't make much difference if you did, officer. You're standing in front of a wall. Oh, but we all know a few bricks won't stop you, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, sir.
Wow, he actually sounds kind of scared of you.
Just what kind of reputation do I have down at the precinct? It's a selection of trophies won by Paul Harlequin, or rather Artie Frost. Evidently, he was a very well-respected artist.
Well, you've got one too, Mr. Edgeworth. So it's about time I won one too. Guess I'll have to find some thieving contests to enter. Or you could set something up. Something with a nice ceremony at the end and all that.
Yes, followed by a swift round of arrests. Seems the elevator is only accessible to select individuals.
Wonder what's upstairs.
Among other things, the medical room. That's where Mr. Gusto is being treated.
I hope he's alright. We've got some questions that need answering as soon as he wakes up.
Since there's no way of knowing when it might be, we should explore other avenues in the meantime. Cool stuff everywhere. Fine, whatever. Do you mind, Mr. Winner? You're in my way.
I do mind, actually. I'm not going anywhere. You'll just have to go around me. Well, we just thought you might want to move to a better spot, that's all.
What better spot?
I demand you show it to me at once.
Is that really all it takes to make you do whatever we want?
Door here's marked with a nice autumny looking tree.
And yet it leads to the winter wing. I suppose it's all part of the deception.
I could steal the leaves if you like. Make things a little more wintry.
I think you better leave them alone, Kay. Come on.
This thing in front of the door is a fir tree, right?
Yes, they're usually associated with the winter, but this door leads to the autumn wing. I suppose it's all part of someone's elaborate ruse.
I could paint it red for that autumny fill.
Evergreens stay green all year round, Kay. Hence the name.
Sure, I knew that. It's a sculpture of a brave warrior battling against a serpent. Did Paul Harlequin make this one too, Mr. Edgeworth?
He did. Seems he was fascinated by fantasy and mythology when he was a young man. This piece embodies the tragic yet gritty determination of the young as they face an impossible situation. It's called the math test.
Talk about relatable.
I'm going to keep this simple, Larry. You're hiding something, so just tell me what it is.
Whoa, quit it with the glare off, you two. It's weird.
Oh, come on, Kay. You know me better than that. I wasn't staring. I was struck by an idea for a picture. Now, Edgy, he was glaring. Yes, and I'll keep glaring at you until you tell us what it is you're hiding. Quit it! I already told you. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're talking to me right now. I mean, from now on, I'm not talking to you ever again, starting now. This is getting me nowhere. I suppose I'll have to figure out what he's hiding first before I can get the whole truth out of him. Come on, Larry. What are you hiding? I'm not saying.
Look, you two. This is no time for kids' games.
Well, I certainly wasn't playing.
Really clear the Reese isn't going to talk to you.
Oh, he'll talk. Don't you worry about that. Need to know what Larry is hiding, and I think I might have an idea of what it is. Perhaps presenting him with the right piece of evidence will force him to come clean. Would you mind taking a look at this for me, Larry? Why would you show me that? Tell me, what is it about Miss Bound's tea set that's got you so agitated? If you won't tell me, then perhaps you prefer to explain it to Judge Gavel. Wait, don't make me look bad in front of Verity. She thinks I'm a sensible, cool, clean-cut guy. I don't want her to see the real me, the real low-down, dirty me. I'm not so sure anybody here thinks you're particularly clean-cut, Larry. But if you don't want her to think badly of you, the best thing you can do is talk to me. Alright, I'll talk. Alright, Larry, enough is enough. Now confess. Is this any way to treat your best friend, Edgy? Is this any way for you to treat yours? By lying to him, hiding things. Oh, I get the picture already, so stop glaring at me like that. I'll tell you everything, okay? Earlier I thought Verity might like a cup of tea, so I went to pour one for her. I got distracted and my hand slipped and smash. I broke the teapot. Priceless work of art. It's in pieces because of me. No words exist to describe how far away I saw this coming from.
Ouch. You really messed up this time, Louise.
See, Edgy, everyone's gonna think less of me now. Judy's never gonna forgive me for this. Lying to me won't do you any good. I think you need to apologize to Miss Bound.
My teapot. I see.
I'm sorry, Judy. I'm so sorry. I don't have any money, but I'll paint you a portrait. I'll paint you 50 portraits.
Please, Mr. Denim. It's really me who should be apologizing. But I failed to notice that there were broken pieces of ceramic on the floor. Somebody could have been hurt. Here, let me make sure that's safely disposed of.
The teapot in question was designed by Artie Frost, correct? I understand it was something you've long treasured. You must be upset.
Oh, I am. But of course all things break eventually. As luck would have it, I have another identical teapot. It's far from the end of the world.
Is she less attached to Mr. Frost's work than she used to be? I can't believe this, Judy. You're the sweetest, the kindest. This other teapot you're talking about is the one sitting on top of the cart right now, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so when I smashed the first one, I tried to hide the pieces in the bottom of the cart. That's when I saw that other pot under there, So I took it out and basically switched the two pots.
Oh, I see.
Yep, that's everything I have to tell you. I'll be extra careful not to break the other one, I promise. You have no shame whatsoever, do you? I'm sorry.
It's really quite alright. Thank you for being so honest.
See, Edgy, isn't Judy the absolute best? I trust you won't take advantage of her kindness and will make amends somehow. I sure will. Once I make it as an artist, I'm gonna give her one of my paintings. She was one of my models after all. It's only fair. At this rate, I suspect he's likely to make more trouble than amends. Don't you think it will be better for you to keep out of her way for a very long while? Oh, but I will be keeping out of her way, because I sketched her and the others already. And the others? Keen to see my work, huh? Yeah, I drew a few great sketches of some ravishing broodies. Wanna see?
Interested in Larissa's ravishing beauties, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm afraid you've greatly misjudged, Kay. I simply wish to see if Larry has captured any unusual details this time too. Unusual details? Nothing's unusual about these. My best work yet.
Really? Now I want to see them too.
Aw, you're a sweetheart, Kay. Alright, let me dig them out for you. Give me a sec, okay? I suppose we might as well take a look. So these sketches of yours. Seriously, Edgy, you want to check out my art, you'd have just said from the get-go. Here, feast your eyes on this. That's really good. What am I looking at here? I told you already. Ravishing beauties. Just a few of the fair faces that have caught my eye since I've been here, you know? There's Verity and Judy and somebody else.
Why did you draw all of them on the same page?
Oh, I meant to draw the room at first. Just something to pass the time. Then I saw one beauty and another, and well, I just scribbled them all down as I went. So these were all drawn at different times. Huh? Yeah, I guess. Did one of you too, Kay. You're on a different page, though.
Oh, you did? I'm flattered.
How true to life are these sketches? Did you only draw what you actually saw? Of course. You think I draw things I can't see? Like using my imagination? Nope. These are 100% true to life, right down to the exact shade of each colour. So the colours are accurate. Interesting. Much as it pains me to admit it, Larry may have provided me with a useful piece of evidence yet again. The serving cart in this sketch, for example, if I compare it to the one here in the room, there's a clear contradiction between the two. I think a little deduction is in order. Can I borrow this page for a while, Larry? Sure thing. Want me to sign it for you? Just the page, please. What do you have to say, Gabble?
Don't think you've gotten away with anything, Mr. Edgeworth. I'll be reporting your actions to the committee.
Do whatever you need to do, Judge Gabble.
We'll do the same. You are the self-styled Great Thief, correct? Mr. Edgeworth's association with such a character will be of interest to the committee too, of course. Go ahead and report me to your stupid committee. I'll be the toast of the thieving community.
Looks like Judge Gabble will have to think up some new threats if she wants to intimidate Kay. Hey there, Miles Reno. What's the situation with the investigation? Things are progressing. I think a fuller picture of what happened is beginning to emerge. Good to hear. Guess I better step up my game too then. This case seems to have a lot in common with the incident from 18 years ago. And hell, it's got the lot. Melting statues in the winter wing, and even the murder victim's body.
But how did nobody ever figure out that the body had gone missing?
Frost had no family apart from his son. And well, the kid kind of vanished. Nobody's seen him since around the time of the incident. Gusto's son too. Him and his best pal from school both just up and disappeared.
What? And they were never found?
Gusto's boy wasn't. Not as far as I heard, anyhow. Guess Frost kid turned up in the end, though. He collected his inheritance at some point. Yeah, with no family around just after the incident, Frost got no funeral, no nothing. So no need for the police to release the body. No need for anybody to find out they didn't have it. They filed their fake autopsy report and nobody was any the wiser. Well, almost nobody. Still can't believe Mr. Von Karma would have stooped so low.
Here's...
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Hello there, dearie. Still investigating away, are you? Found anything interesting? No, dearie. Well, nothing much anyway. Silly girl. That wasn't a dearie moment. That was more of a lambkin. Sweetheart is for when you're being sympathetic, of course, and treasure is for when they're in a tiz. Love is for people you're not that keen on, and petal you use when you're trying to get someone's attention. Wow, I didn't realize there were so many rules. Mr. Edgeworth Petal, I hope you're getting all this down.
Don't even try it, Kay.
Oh, dearie me.
Where were you before you rejoined us here, Miss Bound?
I had to go tell our visitors we're closed. Oh, and hand out a little something in apology. Was there something you wanted to talk to me about?
Yes, a few things actually. Not least of all, the fact that I think you might be the one who set the poison gas trap. The original ice sculptures melted 18 years ago, correct? How did you manage to recreate them?
Oh, you know about what happened back then. In that case, you might also know that I took pictures of them during the contest. I commissioned the creation of a set of replicas based on those photographs, this current exhibit.
Why go through the trouble of creating replicas?
Mr. Frost's Zodiac series was his great unfinished masterwork. I wanted to see it completed at least, last. Or rather, re-completed. It was my fault that the original set melted in the first place, after all.
I see. And is there any particular reason why the winter and autumn wings look so similar?
Oh my, you really think they look alike? Perhaps I used some of the decorations from one and the other by accident.
He's clearly lying. I don't have the evidence to prove it just yet. Can I show her the...
Oh my, is that me?
Yes, it was painted by the so-called artist over there.
It's wonderfully drawn. Would you mind if I kept it?
I'm sorry, Miss Bound. I'm afraid it is an important piece of evidence.
Oh, I see. That's a shame.
I suppose Larry's charm is something of a talent if he can impress a gallery owner with sketches like these. Do I gotta deduce now? I'm guessing so.
Oh, really?
I suspect the difference in aroma we noticed is due to the teapots having been switched.
You do?
I can't see what else it could have been. The tea itself hadn't changed. Why don't we ask Miss Bound just to be sure? Miss Bound? The difference in aroma we noticed. Do you think it could have been because of the different teapot?
I suppose so.
My cup just now had a subtle minty scent, rather like uva tea.
Oh, I just remembered. I made some peppermint tea in that pot only yesterday. That must be where the minty aroma is coming from.
There it is. Could that really be it? The tea from the teapot Larry switched in from under the cart smelled faintly of mint.
Right, Miss Bound said that she used that pot to make peppermint tea yesterday.
Yes, but there's something else that's been troubling me. Miss Bound seemed more taken aback by the switching of the teapots than the breaking of one.
You're right. You'd expect it to be the other way around.
I suspect she might have been deliberately hiding the teapot underneath the cart.
But why?
One of Ubiquitium's key characteristics is its minty fragrance. And what if she had been hiding some in that teapot?
What? In the teapot?
It's simply a possibility, but one worth investigating, I believe. Mr. Winner, any luck finding that Ubiquitium?
Oh... My people are searching the entire gallery, but they haven't found anything yet. What about you? Don't tell me you know where it came from.
I may have an idea.
I knew it. If I can't find it, there's no chance in... What? You do know where it came from?
Yes.
Where?
Miss Bound's teapot.
Wow, nice piece. I like it. Yeah, this looks like a fitting prize for a natural born winner.
Not a prize, it's a vital piece of evidence.
Oh, it's just evidence. Then I'll have one of my forensics people check it out. Mr. Edgeworth, there's some sort of problem with my teapot.
Possibly. The minty fragrance we noticed coming from it. I think it just might be the scent of one of the chemicals used to make the poison gas.
But, Mr. Edgeworth, surely you don't think I had anything to do with that?
I'm afraid I do. The method used to create the gas would have required considerable preparation. Nobody would have had the time or the opportunity to set that up except you.
That's not strictly true. It took around a week to get the Zodiac Hall ready for the exhibition. There were all kinds of people coming and going through here during that time. Delicia for one. So you see, I'm not the only person who could have set it up at all.
Miss Scone is on our radar too, of course. You needn't worry about that.
And besides, I wouldn't know the first thing about making poison gas. Even if you did find some ubiquitium in my teapot, I wouldn't have had any idea what to do with it. But I suppose we should see what the test results say first.
Miss Bell claims she doesn't know the first thing about making poison gas. I need to find a way to prove that she's lying. Edgeworth speaking?
Well, so, it's me.
Is everything alright, Detective?
Everybody's left the winter wing. Just me in here now. Which means I can tell you what we found out.
You really shouldn't be sharing information about the investigation. But after the past week or so, I'm not about to stop him now.
Well, the exhibits in here have all completely melted. All that's left in the display case is some stuff at the bottom. More of it in the tourist case than the Gemini case, though.
Describe the stuff for me if you can.
Oh, yes, sir. Like a pale blue liquid. I had the lab run some tests just now. The sample from the Taurus case just had a bunch of sugar in it. But the one from the Gemini case had 3 different substances in it, which were sugar, salt, and blood. Blood? What's salt and blood doing in the Gemini's case sample? I can't imagine whose blood it could possibly be, but I'll get it tested right away, sir.
Please do, Detective.
Oh, I also spoke over the radio with the forensic guy working the fountain room. He said he just got word that the sugar they found in the fountain matches the sugar in the pale blue liquid.
I see. That might well prove to be a significant development.
Anything else to report, Detective?
Oh, yes, sir. We found one of those light-emitting devices here in the winter wing, too.
There were a few of those being used in the autumn wing to disguise it as the winter wing, as I recall. It seems that the equipment from 18 years ago is more than just for show. I need to talk to Miss Scone about this.
Well, anyhow, I'd better be getting back to it. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from the lab about that blood.
Yes, thank you, Detective.
Was that Gummy? Seemed like he had a lot to say.
He did, and all of it very useful. I'm going to prove that Miss Bowles' claim about who could have set up the poison gas traps are false. I'll need to talk to a certain somebody else who was here 18 years ago. Miss Scone, I'd like to ask you a few questions if I may.
Of course, dearie. Fire away. Anything for you, Milesy Smilesy. And dear sweet little Tooth Decay.
I'd appreciate it if that was the last time you called me Milesy Smilesy.
I'm not a fan of Tooth Decay either. Well, you just have to like it or lump it. I can't change your nickname once I've settled on it. Well, I guess we tried.
What can you tell us about the various devices used to decorate the gallery's exhibits? There seems to be some pretty specialized items in use. Lighted missing devices, luminous fabrics.
Oh, I can tell you all about those, dearie. After all, I'm the one who gave them to Moody Judy. It was my way of saying sorry after I broke the rules all those years ago. I brought her 4 lovely new salt lamps, and I gave her the 4 pieces of luminous cloth I used for the contest. Well, that's super generous of you. Well, us girls have to do our best, don't we? Not everybody understands, of course.
Well, that had better not be a dig at me, Delicia. Delish. I told you how kind I thought it was. I told you how kind I thought that was.
Yes, back when you were a dear, sweet, innocent baby boy. What happened to you, eh? A dear, sweet, innocent baby boy? Miss Defender? Can't quite picture that, I have to say.
So these decorations, they're all the same as the ones you saw 18 years ago, correct? Yep, soap lamps, glowing fabric, light-emitting dials, the whole bit. There were 4 luminous cloths in the autumn wing. But I'm sure I saw another one somewhere.
I'm not lying. Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it.
What is she looking for? That's not
it. That's not it.
The cloth looks familiar. Maybe I should jog her memory with something so Miss Scone will tell us more. Miss Scone, you're something of a specialist. How might someone learn to make the poison gas that was used in the attack? Any ideas?
Well, any pharmacist who's ever handled infesticide ultra would know for a start. After all, it says it right there on the label. Do not mix with products containing ubiquitous ever.
But what about a layperson? It's unlikely they'd know, wouldn't you say?
I suppose so, yes. Well, not unless they had a nose through the ultimate cookbook anyway.
The prize from the contest 18 years ago.
The recipe for making Infesticide Ultra, along with the not mixing with the Bikram bit, is in there, you know.
So you're familiar with the contents of the book?
Oh yes, dear. I know it inside out. As I work for the Tangaroa Group, you see. In the company behind Cold Killer X. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Cold Killer X fights back sniffles and sneezes with ease, apparently.
After Sammy Pupili was found guilty, the company took custody of the book. But they only grant their most trusted people access to it, of course.
Which means Miss Scone is one of those elites, I suppose.
Oh, look at that. A picture of silly old me.
That's right. You seem to have caught the artist's eye.
You mean lovely Laurie Lambkin? I'll have to have a word with him and say thanks.
Well, I'll be glad to introduce you.
And there's the evil smirk.
You had a piece of fabric like this in your bag. There. You had a piece of fabric like this in your bag, did you not, Miss Scone? I'll be a somewhat grimier one.
Grimy? How rude. You won't get people to cooperate with your little investigation like that, young man.
Shall I call it a dish towel then? Perhaps you used it to wipe up some sort of spillage.
Spillage, he says. A cheek. That's a piece of highly specialized luminous cloth. Oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that.
I think I'd like to know a little more about this highly specialized luminous cloth, if you don't mind. Why didn't you want me to know you had a piece of the luminous cloth in your bag?
Oh, well, suppose there's no point in hiding it now, is there? You must know I fished it out of the fountain. It was right before they called me into the autumn wing.
It's a very sketch of Miss Scone as of when she was trying to retrieve the cloth.
At first I thought it was one of the ones I'd given Moody Judy.
One of the 4 you'd given to the gallery, correct?
Exactly. All 4 were being used in the autumn wing, weren't they? So I realized it must be the one that went missing all those years ago. I'd already had my Infesticide Ultra pinched and used to make poison gas. If one of my cloths turned out to have been used in some sort of dastardly deed too, well, I was going to look guilty as sin, wasn't I? So I kept it hidden in my bag and hoped for the best.
I see.
Does feel good to get it off my chest, though. Stress is no good for the complexion.
So the cloth that disappeared 18 years ago, the one that the victim was wrapped in, just happens to reappear in the fountain at the same time as the body. Tell me, Fender, what kind of person is Miss Bell? Oh, wait a minute. Don't tell me you got a thing for her, master. I do not. Chill, chill. I'm just yanking your chain. Anyway, what can I say about Judes? Oh, she's a real brave trooper for one. What else do you call someone who waits around for 8 whole years like she has for Samson? Even after his extended family kicked her out of his place. Even after his extended family kicked her out of this place.
What? They threw her out?
Yep, Jules wasn't technically part of the family, so there was nothing she could do. She had nothing, nobody, and no job after Samson took the fall. So she had no choice but to take what he taught her and make her own way in showbiz. She's retired from all that now, though. Yes. Why did she retire? She'd finally made enough to buy the old place back. She even got the ultimate cookbook back from the Tangaroa group after they basically stole it. Guess this place and everything to do with it was all she ever cared about. So she just wanted it back, all of it. Linda seems very sympathetic to Miss Bell's plight. But from a less charitable perspective, she has, in a way, taken everything of Mr. Tangaroa's for herself. The Ultimate Cookbook contained instructions on how to create the poison gas. And the current owner of that book is none other than Miss Judy Bound.
No way, you mean?
I'm afraid I do. Miss Bound would have been perfectly capable of setting up the gas trap. Finally, we can prove that she's been lying to us. What kind of pharmaceutical recipes are in the Ultimate Cookbook?
Oh, there are so many. It would take a while to go through them all. If you really want to know, well then let's start the show. Come join me as we sing this song in a nifty-thrifty 2-hour long. Now one by one we'll sing the things that the world's best little cookbook brings. What do you think, Mr. Edgeworth? Want to listen to the rest?
No, that won't be necessary. What the f... What do they want me to do? So you're gonna keep a tick with everything, okay? Fine, fine, fine. You have no goddamn idea what I'm meant to do then. There is still a part. The top of the platform is wet.
Maybe someone used it to move something liquidy around.
Yes, but the question is who and what.
Looks like this pedal lets you adjust the height of the platform, Mr. Edgeworth.
Indeed, let's give it a try. If you would, Kay?
On it. Ta-da!
Single person could transport quite a heavy load using one of these.
I'll say, I bet I could even cut gummy off with it.
And for what purpose exactly, may I ask?
Nothing else.
That one way.
Didn't say PH, right, Mr. Redworth?
Yes, they show that the teapot was made by Paul Halloquy. Or his initials, obviously.
Right, but I thought his real name was Ali Frost.
It was. Thereby making this piece by the victim of the IS-7 incident as well. And his work seems to be everywhere here in the Zodiac Hall.
Oh, I really don't fucking know what I'm meant to do. Yeah, I really wish I didn't have the technology. I do not know what the fuck I'm meant to do now. Used to be in the way. I do not know what the fuck I've got to do. At all. Right, let's get me a little fucking hint. Because this is annoying. I get when it actually fucking know. But I can't fucking have that in this, can we? Yep. Oh. Okay. Oh. God. My God. What are you... God fucking... Yep. Harry, could I ask you something about your sketches?
Oh, fascinated by the work of the great Larice de Nim, huh? It's the composition, right?
Not exactly. This light blue tablecloth you painted, that's exactly the... You painted that exactly as you saw it, correct?
I already told you. Everything is exactly as I saw it.
But the tablecloth on the card here in this room is white. Wow.
My head's so full of crazy theories, the simple stuff just passes you right by, huh?
What's that look for?
Listen, just before I drew that sketch, I was in the middle of some business with the cart, with the tea set on it, right? Okay? What kind of business? That's right. It was the hiding the pieces of the teapot I smashed kind.
That's nothing to boast about.
Anyway, I was still in the middle of cleaning it all up when Judy came out of the window wing. I didn't want to get busted for breaking the pot, so I quickly dove out of sight.
Wait, Miss Bound came out of the winter wing?
Yeah, and she was pushing a cart, a different one. That's the one with the light blue tablecloth on it that I drew.
And what did she do with the second serving cart?
Well, I saw her with it into the summer wing. I don't know what happened to it after that. When she came back out, she was pushing one of those other carts. The kind you can lift stuff with.
Lift cart?
Yeah, so I called out to her, but she just ran off and left it behind. Never had her down as the shy type, but it just goes to show you never know.
Another serving cart and a lift cart.
Maybe another tea set too?
You better check with Miss Bound. Not to put too fine a point on it, but... My God, it is blue. It is barely fucking blue. You can barely fucking... Oh my God. Are there two serving carts here at the gallery, Miss Bound?
Oh, yes. Why do you ask?
A certain so-called artist showed us this sketch. I couldn't help but notice the colour of the tablecloth. It's light blue.
Light blue? I'm afraid your friend must be mistaken. I only use white tablecloths, freshly laundered and starched. Like the perfect wrinkle-free one on the cart here in the fountain room, right? Exactly. If I saw so much as a blemish, I would replace it right away.
Could the colour of the tablecloth in the sketch simply be a mistake on Larry's part? Do you have any idea of what you might have been doing when this sketch was drawn?
Let me see. I appear to be carrying out my usual duties.
I'd like to ask you a little more about these duties, if I may. What exactly were you doing when this sketch was drawn? Because from what I can see, your cart doesn't have a tea set on it.
I was delivering some chocolates to the investigating officers. Oh, no, I'm jealous. I love chocolates. Well,
There were a few left over, so here. For you both. I made them myself. I hope you like them. Woohoo! Thanks, Miss Bound.
Well, why not? They're a little melted, but I suppose that's because they've been sitting around in our pockets.
Super sweet. I love them. Very glad to hear it.
They may not be the prettiest, but I am grateful for the energy boost nonetheless. And perhaps they could do with a little less sugar.
Never noticed the goddamn car. It's too fucking similar.
And that's that. All that's left now is to await the results of the tests on the teapot.
Test results have just come in, sir. Traces of ubiquitous were found in the teapot.
They were? Just like Mr. Edgeworth said. Curse you. You better not think that this means you beat me.
We really need to drop this obsession with coming in first, Mr. Winner. We're all on the same side here, remember? We're all trying to get to the truth.
What? But first is best. Everyone knows it's better to be a winner than a loser.
That's really no way for a prosecutor to think. Not a successful one, anyway.
But I... Enough, Mr. Edgeworth. Please refrain from taunting the boy. Ignore him, Eustace. He isn't worthy of your attention.
But, Gavel...
All right. Why don't I take care of things from here now? In the meantime, you can perform the far more important task of going and checking on the victim.
Oh, yeah, good idea. I'll be right back.
Excellent. We shall see you shortly then.
Mr. Winner's annoying, but totally harmless. Judge Gavel, on the other hand.
Now. Miss Bound, perhaps you could explain why traces of ubiquitous were found in your teapot. I had no idea there was anything like that in there. Perhaps it's one of the ingredients in the dishwashing soap I use? So you are telling the court that you did not intentionally put ubiquitous in the teapot? Yes, exactly. Why would I? Until today I had no idea that it could even be used to make poison gas.
You're a trained actress. You're a trained actress, are you not, Miss Bound? I'd have thought you would be a more convincing liar.
Well, what do you mean?
You have access to the Ultimate Cookbook, correct? A book that just happens to contain instructions on how to create the poison gas used in the attack. Meaning it's perfectly possible for you to know exactly how to make it.
You're very well informed, Mr. Edgeworth. Miss Bound, is what Mr. Edgeworth said true? The book does contain information on how to make the poison gas, yes. The fact that I haven't... But the fact that I have seen it doesn't make me guilty. Can I ask exactly how the gas was triggered? The victim used a blowtorch to heat the lid on one of the display cases, thereby melting the ubiquitous. I see. But he locked himself in the room too, didn't he? Surely that and the fact that he triggered it himself. Wouldn't it point to it being a suicide attempt?
Though she's not willing to admit anything.
Furthermore, where would I have gotten hold of the Infesticide Ultra?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps you stole it.
You know, I did bump into Moody Judy a week or so ago. And that very evening I noticed my Infesticide Ultra had gone missing. Judy, surely you didn't. Delicia, you carry your bag of pharmaceuticals with you everywhere, don't you? There would have been any number of opportunities for someone other than myself to steal it from you.
That's true. I don't have any hard evidence that it was definitely Miss Bound who stole it.
Judes, it's clearly something you're not telling us. Why don't you just come clean, huh? You all know you never hurt somebody for no reason, so...
Not you two. You think I'm gilding as well, Mr. Fender?
Can you blame me? You got one wing disguised as another, a gas trap in one of the display cases. And you're the proprietor of the establishment. It's looking a lot like you did it, kiddo.
You've got this all wrong. You have to remember the gallery doesn't have any security cameras, nor any security personnel. If some ill-intentioned person or other wanted to get in undetected, I don't think they'd have much of a problem. Wow, you're practically asking to be burglarized. Need to be more careful. A great thief could have a field day in here.
I don't think she's joking.
And actually, it seems that Mr. Gusto did in fact enter the gallery before it opened.
Sheesh. Judy's one tough cookie. She's not budging an inch. Maybe it's time to rock a little technique Gregory taught me back in the day.
And what technique might that be?
So hear me out. Everything's connected to what happened 18 years back, yeah? And since we're not getting anywhere by focusing only on the here and now, maybe we ought to approach this from a different angle and look to the past for clues instead.
Turnabout in thinking.
And my father used this method as well. Alright, let's run this through the old Thinkatron. How was Jude's involved in what happened back then?
According to Miss Bound, it was because of her that Mr. Frost's flavoured ice sculptures melted. And yet his sculptures are here on display at this very gallery today. Is it possible that she...
Thank you, Fender. I think I know what I need to ask Miss Bound now. Don't thank me, thank you, Pops. Now take it away, Milesy. I'll grab the popcorn.
Miss Bound, you say that you were the one who caused Mr. Frost's creations to melt 18 years ago, correct?
I'm afraid so. I was young and foolish, and it was a terrible accident.
And yet, what you did allowed... And yet, what you did allowed you to open this exhibit, no?
What do you mean? Yes. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? You're going to ask such questions, perhaps a formal testimony from Miss Bound might be best.
Yes, perhaps it might. I'd like to know a little more about Zodiac Hall. And about why Miss Bound decided to dedicate this space to Mr. Frost's works.
Very well. If you believe it to be relevant to the case, I will allow it. Miss Bound, would you mind? Not at all. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I'm innocent. Then please, if you could give us some background on the Zodiac Hall and the pieces on display here. It took 18 years, but at long last I was finally able to buy Solomon's home back a little while ago. But a place like this is expensive to maintain, so I decided to turn it into an art gallery. To that end, I collected as many Paul Harlequin pieces as I could from around the world. Because, if I'm honest, it's always been something of a dream of mine to open a space dedicated to his work. Thank you for your testimony, Miss Bound. How wonderful it is that you are able to fulfill your dream. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, everything seems entirely above board to me.
Judge Gavel, that was simply the witness's preliminary statement. As you surely know, the value of that testimony cannot be evaluated without due cross-examination.
Spoken like a true attorney. Very well. You may do what you must.
18 years. You must have gone through a lot to buy it back, Miss Pound.
This home, this place, such memories abound. I couldn't stand to lose what I had found. Samson, I did what I had to do, to see that home was waiting here for you. How did she make it look so easy?
I'll say, but I wouldn't expect any less from a trained triple threat performer. If you would continue with your testimony, Miss Pound, minus the singing, if you please.
Hold it!
You managed the gallery by yourself, Miss Pound.
Yes, well, we only opened today, though I haven't done much actual managing yet, but I have to keep the mansion going. Can't have it falling down around my ears. Samson can come home any day after all.
So she really got the house back for him. I'm so sorry, Judy. Wish I could have done more.
Oh, you've done plenty, Mr. Fender. Anyone should have done more. It's me. Even if the only thing I can do right now is to keep this place safe for Samson.
Hold it!
Oh, Harlequin, that was Mr. Frost's pseudonym, correct?
Yes, he adopted it while he was working as a sculptor in France.
I see. I'm curious about some of the pieces in your collection. More specifically, how you were able to acquire the Taurus and Gemini sculptures. It was my understanding that Mr. Frost died before he could complete them.
Yes, I was able to create replicas for the Winter Wing based on the photos of the sculptures he made.
Really? Perhaps you could go into some more detail on that.
Because if I'm honest, it's always been something of a dream of mine to open a space dedicated to his work.
Oh, that's the new one.
I was able to create replicas for the Winter Wing based on photos of the sculptures he made.
Hold it!
Anyway, tell me more about this dream of yours, Miss Pound.
Well, what I really wanted was to open a gallery with Samson, of course. A gallery of dance, a gallery of song, a gallery of gaiety and candy all day long. That was the idea anyway.
And here I thought art was to be appreciated in silence, not accompanied by musical numbers.
Alas, Mr. Tangaroa, transgressed against the edicts of the Goddess of Justice. And as such, that part of your dream may go permanently unfulfilled. No, Samson he's innocent. That awful prosecutor refused to listen, but it's true, he'd never hurt anybody.
Mr. Tangaroa gave a false confession in order to protect Miss Pound. The two of them really did what they could to protect one another, didn't they?
Hold it!
These photos you mentioned, you mean the ones you yourself took in Mr. Frost's room 18 years ago?
Yes, you certainly know a lot about what happened back then, Mr. Edgeworth. So, these statues in the Winter Wing were just copies. I didn't even get to see them before they melted.
No, the sculptures in question were definitely not replicas. Which means that Miss Pound is lying.
No, it's such an awful shame. And after we went to the trouble to recreate them too.
The sculptures in the Winter Wing weren't replicas. They're the very ones from 18 years ago. I need to show her I'm aware of that, or I'll never get the truth. Never get to the truth. Blech.
Objection!
I'm afraid you've run out of road, Miss Pound. You can lie all you like, but you can't deny the results of the tests conducted on the sculpture's remains. And those tests leave no room for ambiguity. What you had on display weren't replicas. They were the very statues Mr. Frost carved 18 years ago.
Oh, I can probably help explain how they worked it out if you like, dear. It's the sugar, you see. You might think sugar, but the composition is actually very unique. You could probably recreate the statues, but the sweet scent of their chemical makeup, no chance.
Thank you, Miss Gone. I don't recall asking her for help, but still. To put it simply, the statues didn't disappear back then because they'd melted. They disappeared because you spirited them away and kept them hidden for these 18 long years.
What? She kept a pair of flavoured ice sculptures around somewhere all that time?
Not the most out there idea in the world, assuming you had a big enough icebox.
Quiet, all of you. Miss Bound, have you anything to say in your defense? So you've already learned that much. Should I take that to mean you admit to having hidden the flavoured ice sculptures in question? No, I admit to no such thing. You haven't proven that I was the one who took those statues away. And you won't, because it would have been impossible for me to do so in the first place. The police were already here when they disappeared. How could I have done it without them noticing?
How indeed. I don't yet know exactly how you did it, but I'm far from ready to say that it was impossible for you to have stolen them away.
You're a very persistent man, aren't you, Mr. Edgeworth?
I am indeed, but I won't stop until I get to the truth.
I see. Then I'd better tell you exactly what I did that day 18 years ago. The whole time before judging began, I was waiting upstairs in our living area on standby. During the judging, I had to go change the camera's film cartridge for Samson. But before I could take the camera back to Samson, I discovered Mr. Frost's body. Later, and when your father arrived, I began to make the rounds and serve tea to everybody present. That was when I saw Mr. Gusto entering Mr. Frost's room. And those were my movements on the day it all happened. I hardly see how you could take issue with any of that.
That's for us to decide, Miss Bound.
Are you saying there's a contradiction in her story, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm more focused on proving the fact that she did indeed steal those statues. Question is when she could have had the opportunity to do so. I can pinpoint that. I might be able to prove what exactly she got up to.
Hold it!
And what were you doing while you were waiting?
I was in my room practicing some dance routines. I was on a TV show called Bacon Bop with Samson, you see. Bacon Bop? What kind of show was it?
It was a children's show. The two of them would sing and dance as they made a variety of sweets.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Hold the phone, Miles. You used to watch it? My father introduced me to it. I may have watched an episode or two. Miss Bound passed the time before the judging began by practicing her dance routines. Was this the moment when Miss Bound stole the sculptures? Can't have been the moment she did it. I'd better listen carefully to what she says.
Hold it!
Were you the only one who was able to move around freely during the judging?
Well, I wouldn't say freely exactly, but I was able to move around more easily than the contestants, yes. Even so, I could hardly have spirited the sculptures away while Samson was standing right there, could I? And I ran straight off to change the film as soon as he asked me. I wouldn't have had time.
So, changing the film and the camera as requested by Mr. Tangaroa. Was this the moment when Miss Bound stole the sculptures? Nope. That can't have been the moment she did it. Better listen carefully to what she says.
Hold it!
You entered the room containing Mr. Tangaroa's work before bringing the camera back to him, correct?
Yes, I heard the sound of something collapsing. Samson, you in here?
The sound of the chocolate chip falling over a certain... Someone took a bite out of one of the sound of a chocolate chip falling over after a certain someone took a bite out of one of the supports. And Mr. Tangaroa was still in Mr. Gusto's room when you found the body.
Yes, I'm fairly sure that was the case. He was judging each room in order, and he'd like to take his time.
So the point at which she discovered Mr. Frost's body. Was this moment when Miss Bound stole the sculpture? No, it wasn't. That, however, is. Press this one first.
Hold it!
When exactly did you see Mr. Gusto entering the victim's room?
It was while your father and the others were investigating the room where the body was found.
Gusto said he went in there to get back a photo of him and Frost and their kids.
Because he didn't want anybody to suspect they'd been working together, right? Pretty sloppy of him to get spotted, though. Definitely not great thief material.
I think Mr. Gusto could live with that, to be honest. So the moment when Mr. Gusto snuck into Mr. Frost's room. At the moment, nope. We need to figure out when Miss Pound would have been able to steal the sculptures.
What was their best window of opportunity, huh? You'd think a great thief like me would have an inkling, but I'm drawing a blank here.
If you're going to get to the bottom of this, you'll need to grill her even harder. So get to it. We're right behind you, big man. Alright. It. Oops. Press.
Hold it!
No, it was this moment because the tea saucers were cold. Just as you did today.
Yes, I went around and offered everybody working on the investigation a cup of tea.
Present company included. I remember it well. You were here, there, upstairs, downstairs, everywhere with that little cart of yours. Interesting. Did anything strike you as strange around that time? Oh yeah, Gregory was singing the praises of Judy's tea and... I think he mentioned his salsa was cold. His salsa was cold. Was this the moment when Miss Bound stole the sculptures? Yep. Miss Bound, I believe this was when you stole the sculptures.
I hate to contradict you, but the fountain room was full of witnesses at that point, Mr. Fender included. Are you suggesting that I somehow got the sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room right under everyone's noses?
That is precisely what I'm suggesting. Miss Bound stole these ice sculptures, and she did it by hiding them here.
Take that!
My father and Fender had no idea that one of the sculptures was merely inches away from them. Because it wasn't just a tea set you were pushing around, Miss Bound, but a hidden ice sculpture in a glass case.
Overruled!
Surely such a thing would have been impossible. How would a case of that size fit on a serving cart? It would have been spotted immediately.
Objection!
Who said anything about a serving cart?
I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Edgeworth. What are you suggesting she used instead?
I'm suggesting that Miss Bound used this to transport the sculptures.
And this is...
The cart that Miss Brown used to move the flavoured ice sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room 18 years ago. And it would appear that the very same cart is still here with us in this fountain room.
We originally brought it in for use in the contest. And you're saying that Miss Brown loaded Mr. Frost's sculptures onto this cart and carried them off?
I am. As you can imagine, all one would need to do is lay the case on its side and add a tablecloth. Did it look exactly like a normal serving cart, thus allowing her to move the sculptures around freely.
Can it be?
Holy moly! Of course! That's why those saucers were so chilly. They were sitting on top of a big block of ice. Jutes, how could you?
Impressive. And again, you are Mr. Gregory Edgeworth's son. I should have expected no less. There isn't a scrap of evidence that I stole the sculptures all those years ago, now. And yet, I knew that no matter what I said or did, I'd always be under a cloud of suspicion. So you admit it. You admit that you stole them from Mr. Frost's room. Yes, I do. I took those sculptures and their glass cases out of that room 18 years ago. As Mr. Edgeworth correctly deduced, I dressed up the lift cart as a serving cart to do it, and slipped in and out of Mr. Frost's room while I was going around serving tea to everybody. In the end, I removed not only the sculptures, but the flavoured ice zodiac blocks as well.
Zodiac blocks. I feel like I've seen them for myself before. There's a huge block of ice on display here. Must be incredibly heavy. Though maybe not, what with it being hollow on the inside. If the Winter Wing really is an exact replica of Mr. Frost's room from 18 years ago, and even though my father never saw them because they'd already melted, the Zodiac blocks must have been in the victim's room back then as well.
When I had finished moving the 2 ice sculptures and the 2 Zodiac blocks out, I took 2 fresh empty cases to Mr. Frost's room and put them where the original 2 had been. Only the sculptures had been kept in glass cases, you see, to prevent them from being damaged. The blocks were a little more robust, though they had been displayed as is. As stated in the contest rules, we were responsible for providing all display materials, including cases.
Meaning it would have been easy for her to prepare those empty spares she swapped in.
Mr. Frost's room contained quite a few other flavoured iceworks in progress. I figured if I'd melt them down somehow, the resulting puddle would look like it came from the sculptures. And that is how the sculptures from 18 years ago came to be in the Winter Wing today. I have to say, Mr. Edgeworth, that's quite the confession.
Indeed, and I think she offered it so willingly because she knows there's nothing we can do with it.
And that's all I have to tell you. However, despite everything I've shared, you can't charge me with anything now, can you? What? How'd you figure that? Oh my. I would have thought you might know at least this much given we're at a crime scene. I suggest you memorize the various statutes of limitations outlined in this book. Statutes of what?
Simply put, Kay, prosecutors only have a certain amount of time within which they can put a suspect on trial for a given crime. Let's take a closer look, shall we?
Theft, 7 years from the date of the crime. Separate timeframes apply with regards to claims of damages, etc. Murder, 15 years from the date of the crime. The statute is suspended should the suspect flee to a foreign country. The statute is suspended from the time of any accomplice's indictment to the end of their trial.
So it's different for every crime. Murder 15 years, theft 7 years.
Yes, Miss Bell stole the ice sculptures 18 years ago. So it's too late to have her arrested for that crime.
Don't believe it. Theft is a serious matter, especially when it involves the removal of evidence from a crime scene. However, as you yourself just pointed out, Miss Bound can no longer be prosecuted for her crime, rendering your revelation rather pointless, wouldn't you say, Mr. Edgeworth?
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Well, you see, the theft of the ice sculptures isn't my principal interest here. I find the body that reappeared 18 years after the theft to be of considerable more interest.
Are you suggesting that I also hid Mr. Frost's body?
I am indeed.
But how'd you keep a body hidden for 18 years without anybody finding it?
By hiding it in a very unusual way.
Oh, now this is interesting. Are you telling me you know where the body has been for all this time, Mr. Edgeworth?
Not such a big leap if you think about what Miss Bound has told us already. Let's just say it wasn't just flavoured ice that she removed from Mr. Frost's room back then.
Very well. If you are confident in this claim, let us put it to the test. Tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, where exactly was Mr. Frost's body hidden?
Take that!
Photograph of Mr. Frost's works.
And of the victim's body, Your Honour.
You will have to forgive me, but I don't see what you mean. Where exactly in this photograph is Mr. Frost's body?
The victim's body is hiding right here.
Take that!
The Gemini sculpture?
Yes, it may look like a sculpture at first glance, but it is in fact Mr. Frost's corpse.
Surely you can't be serious. I don't see anything in the photograph to support such a wild claim.
Objection!
That's because a certain piece of evidence was used to hide the body in plain sight.
And what piece of evidence might that be? The court demands that you present what was used to conceal the body.
Take that!
One of the cloths from In the Autumn Wing?
Yes, when it's made to glow in just the right way, it's so visually convincing you might mistake it for ice. Isn't that right, Miss Scone?
Well, yes, dear. But you can make it look like just about anything, really. Even blazing fire. And the right shade of blue will make it look like ice, yes. Exactly like it, in fact.
Overruled!
Is it not the case that a certain special device is needed to generate these colours, though?
Objection!
If you would care to take another look at the photograph of the Winter Wing, Your Honour. You'll notice there is a small box connected to the bottom of the Gemini display case.
That's...
one of the very light-emitting devices in question. Detective Gumshoe even confirmed its presence. In fact, this particular device went missing 18 years ago. Back then it was no doubt firmly connected to the cloth inside this display case. The display case there. Which means Miss Bound had no choice but to take it with her when she removed the sculpture. So you see, this cloth and the light-emitting device were being used. to create the illusion that Mr. Frost's body was, in fact, a statue carved from ice.
No, this can't be.
Wait, so you're telling me that when we took a photo of us in that winter wing? Yes, we were standing right in front of the body.
But the body and the cloth were both recovered from the fountain. Why were they found there if the body was supposed to be in the winter wing disguised as a sculpture?
Objection!
Because there would have been no mystery as to how the body had been hidden if we found it as is. Miss Bell needed to remove Mr. Frost from the winter wing in order to throw us off the scent.
Overruled!
Ridiculous. I don't recall her sneaking around behind our backs to throw her body in the fountain.
No, and she didn't need to, because she had another method at her disposal. Her trusty lift cart, the same cart that had proved so useful in executing her original theft. I believe she rolled the body into one of the other wings and floated it down the stream to the fountain. The frozen body, being quite solid, probably got stuck somewhere along the way. Which is why only the cloth appeared at first. The cloth Miss Stone discovered.
And then the body followed afterwards once it had thawed enough. It's an ingenious theory, Mr. Edgeworth. But can you prove that it was me? Seems a little unfair to expect me to accept your accusations without proof, don't you think? What about an eyewitness? Do you think someone might have spotted her when she was moving the body?
As a matter of fact, I do. And the contradiction in the piece of evidence I was provided will shed light on exactly how Miss Bell moved the body as well.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any evidence to support your allegation?
Of course. I have a piece of very compelling proof right here.
Then please, present it to the court. What evidence do you have that proves Miss Bound acted as you claim?
Really Larry sketch.
Take that!
More drawings. And is that me?
Yes, Mr. Butt drew sketches of people as they pass through the fountain room. But what I'm interested in is the cart we can see here.
Miss Bound's serving cart. What about it?
You don't see it. She's using the same trick she used 18 years ago. We know that Miss Bound was busy moving Mr. Frost's body when the picture was being drawn.
What? If I may, I don't see Mr. Frost's body anywhere in that sketch. All I see is a picture of me delivering chocolates to everyone.
Really? Then allow me to direct your attention to the colour of the tablecloth, Miss Bound. I'd originally thought that Mr. Butts had made an error, but he has assured me that that couldn't possibly be the case.
This tablecloth appears to be light blue.
Yes, a shade of tablecloth that Miss Bound doesn't seem to own. The cloth only appears to be light blue due to the body hiding just underneath.
What? But the shape of the cart is perfectly rectangular, just as one would expect. Surely it would be immediately obvious if the tablecloth was being draped directly over the body.
Objection!
Not if the body had been placed inside one of the hollow zodiac blocks in the winter wing. Place one of those in the lift cart, and it'd easily pass muster as a regular serving cart. Wouldn't you agree?
Goddess of Justice.
Miss Bound. Surely now you must admit that it was you who moved the body, just as you did 18 years ago.
I didn't expect you to deduce all that from a single simple sketch. But that sketch alone isn't really enough to prove your theory, is it?
You needn't worry on that front. My case doesn't rest solely on Mr. Butt's artwork. Once you had disposed of the body, your serving cart became a simple lift cart once more, which is exactly what we discovered here in the fountain room. And without a serving cart, you had to find some place to put your chocolates.
My chocolates. The ones I was handing out.
As was saw in the sketch, you had originally placed them on top of the cart, but the chocolate you gave us came from your pocket.
Oh yeah, mine was half melted. It was still super sweet and tasty though.
Why did you suddenly feel the need to put the chocolates in your pocket, Miss Pound? It was because you no longer had a serving cart to put them on. That's why.
One moment, please. You have explained what Miss Bound did with the chocolates in the lift cart. But what about the tablecloth? Where did it go?
Indeed, if stashing the chocolates in her pocket was the only solution she could think of, I doubt Miss Bound had the time to dispose of an entire tablecloth.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have an answer for me?
Miss Bound didn't hide or dispose of the tablecloth, Your Honor. In fact, it's right here in front of us.
Perhaps you would care to enlighten us. Where exactly is the tablecloth Miss Bound used to hide the body?
I mean, I can't fucking use it even if I do pick the wrong ones, so why am I even bother? On Miss Bound's person. Miss Bound has the tablecloth on her person, and in plain view, in fact.
In plain view? No, surely you don't mean...
Miss Bound. It's the cloth around your waist, isn't it? And given that the Zodiac blocks weren't kept in glass cases, that cloth would have been in direct contact with the ice. All we would need to do to confirm my theory is test the cloth for traces of the sugar used in Mr. Frost's work. The game is up, Miss Bound. It's time to come clean.
You won't need to test the tablecloth. Everything you said is true. I stole Delicia's Infesticide Ultra, and I'm Mr. Frost's body. It was me. It was all me. Delicia, I'm so sorry. Last week I went into your bag and I took it. And then I put it in his pocket, hoping to make it look like he had tried to do himself in. So I made sure to leave no fingerprints but yours, just in case the police suspected foul play. Judy, you... oh my gosh.
The Judes, why? Weren't we supposed to be on the same side, all fighting together to free Samson?
We were. I couldn't afford to get arrested. Not yet. Not until I'd finally proven that Samson is innocent. Always planned to give myself up in the end, I swear. Oh, it's easy to say that now, but...
Why do it this way, though? It's not like you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fender. Caused you so much trouble. I've been the guilty party all along, ever since that day 18 years ago.
Are you trying to tell us that the true culprit in the IS-7 incident was you?
Committed a terrible crime. I took those sculptures, and I stole them for purely selfish reasons. The moment Mr. Frost died, they became more than mere entries in a confectionery contest. They became the final works of Samson's favorite artist. Couldn't allow them to just melt away, not before he came home. And that meant I couldn't let anybody near them, not even the police. So I hid them. I knew it was wrong, but I just had to. Put them in the cold storage room for safekeeping. But what I had actually done was far worse than anything I could have possibly imagined. Because who would have thought that Mr. Frost's body itself was posing as one of the sculptures?
So she didn't know about the body when she stole the sculptures.
Samson is a kind man, saint. He could never kill anybody, never. And yet, because of what I did, the police never found Mr. Frost's body, and Samson was found guilty. After all he'd done for me, it was my family, the only family I ever had. Was the most important person in the entire world to me, and I...
Jude.
After his conviction, I was forced out of our home. I was finally able to return only a few days ago. When I did, I went to the cold storage room to check up on the sculptures. That's when I saw it. Mr. Frost's body had been there the whole time. Of course, by that point, the statute of limitations had expired. I did what I did today, because it was the only way I could think of to make things right.
Seems I've misunderstood her intentions. Everything she's done really has all been for Mr. Tangaroa's sake.
Hey, what are you thinking about, Mr. Edgeworth?
Something that's been puzzling me. Why did Miss Bound use poison gas? Why not a more reliable method? And why disguise the autumn wing as the winter wing? The only reason I can think of is to confuse someone who was here 18 years ago.
Yeah, I wonder what she had in mind.
If she was trying to prove that Mr. Tangaroa was innocent, Miss Bound's ultimate goal must be to find the true killer. Could she have been trying to discover the identity of the true culprit? Miss Bound, your ultimate aim was to see Mr. Tangaroa cleared of all charges, correct? And to that end, you had to expose the real killer and have the police find the body from 18 years ago. My understanding of your intentions correct? Exhibiting the sculptures was sure to force the killer to return to the crime scene. After all, they were the only person apart from you who knew that the body was hidden in the icework. So they would have freaked out thinking the body was about to be discovered and came running, yeah? Exactly. But Miss Bound ran the risk that the killer might successfully cover their tracks this time. In the worst case scenario, they might even have been able to remove Mr. Frost's body from the scene. So how could she lure the true killer into revealing themselves without putting vital evidence at risk? Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're saying that's why the autumn wing was all wintry wing. I am. You were betting on one thing, Miss Bound, weren't you? That whoever opened the Pisces case you had so carefully disguised as the Gemini case would be the real perpetrator of the IS-7 incident.
No. That would mean the real killer was... Enough. Not another word. Do you realize the implications of what you are saying, Mr. Edgeworth? Are you prepared to stand behind the accusation you are clearly about to make?
Miss Bound set a trap for Mr. Frost's killer, meaning that whoever found themselves caught in that trap is highly likely to be the guilty party. But I lack the evidence to support such an assertion. To accuse someone without any evidence is not unlikely, so should I really go ahead and make my accusation and name Mr. Frost's killer nonetheless? Sure, why not? My ultimate goal is to see the truth exposed, and to do that I need to seize the moment. Yes, Judge Gavel, I am prepared to stand behind my accusation. I know exactly who is to blame for the IS-7 incident.
Take that!
Mr. Gusto, the victim of the poison gas attack, is the perpetrator behind the IS-7 incident. Gusty?
Mr. Gusto. Miss Bound,
As we have established, you knew that the opening of the gallery would lure them in the real culprit, and you set up the poison gas trap in order to catch them. Do you dispute the facts thus far?
You're a very impressive man, Mr. Edgeworth. It's like your father. And of course, you're absolutely right.
Then perhaps you could tell us exactly what happened in your own words.
Of course. I have nothing to hide anymore. So I might as well tell you everything. As you said, I set a trap here in the gallery to try and catch Mr. Frost's killer. Before we opened, I made sure that the door to the autumn wing was the only one that was unlocked. When the opening time came, I went around to unlock the doors to the various rooms, and found that the autumn wing had been locked from the inside. The killer is on the other side of the door. The thought, well, it frightened me.
And then she simply walked away, leaving him to fall victim to a poison gas trap.
When I heard that Mr. Gusto was being treated for gas inhalation, that's when I knew he was the murderer. All that was left was for the police to find Mr. Frost's body, and then Sampson would finally be proven innocent. At least, that was my plan.
Judes, why didn't you tell me? You know I'm always here for you, right? You could have found another way. Didn't have to be like this.
Thank you, Mr. Fender. You've been so very kind to me all these years. But I'm the one who created this mess, so it was up to me to try and clean it up. I didn't care what it took, as long as I could get Sampson out of that awful place.
Judy, Judy, Judy.
18 years ago, the police managed to cover up the fact that Mr. Frost's body had gone missing. I went to them now and said it had reappeared. I was afraid they might have tried to cover things up again. So I worked to set off a very public incident here in the gallery, in front of as many witnesses as possible.
I'm so sorry, Judy. You, Sampson, Gregory, let you all down. And this can't be easy for him.
No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Fender, I hope one day you can forgive me. Whatever punishment I have to face, I'm ready to accept it. Please, if I may ask one thing of you, it's that you simply must clear Sampson's name.
The way the truth of these past 18 years had come to light was unexpected, to say the least. And yet, it had only set us down a path towards an even more shocking end.
Still? Ugh.
My voice is getting tired though. I'm tired. Ah, my jaw is aching. I need to stop now. Oh well, certain voices are more hard on me than others. Can't be helped. That will have to be all for now then. We shall most likely finish this episode tomorrow. For now, though, bye.